Good afternoon. My name is KJ Dhaliwal, and I'm the Chief Strategy Officer at Social Discovery Ventures. I'm based in San Francisco, and our company is global. We have offices all over the world, but myself, I'm in San Francisco, and hope you guys are enjoying the conference so far. This is my Masterclass on Social Discovery 3.0. Social Discovery Ventures is the leading company within digital intimacy and dating 3.0. We have about 23 social apps in our portfolio. So we're a holding company of dating and entertainment products. Across our products, we have about 250 million users, registered users across those 23 apps. And annually, this year, we're on track to do about $330 million in revenue. This is up from about $250 million in 2021. So our core products really help people connect globally for platonic and romantic relationships. And our users are interested in digital-first relationships where location is no longer a boundary. So the interesting thing about our products is over 90% of our users actually never meet in real life. This is very different to sort of maybe what you're experienced with in terms of the traditional dating apps as you see out there like Tinder, Bumble, Hinge. And as you can imagine, this ends up affording us a very high retention on our users, which leads to us having actually the highest LTV in the industry compared to the traditional sort of dating apps in the market. We also run a corporate venture fund focused on consumer products. So we invest anywhere from seed stage to post-Series A as well. Some of the companies in our portfolio are Wobot, Flow Health, Smore, Patreon, and Academia. We're always looking for products to invest in as well that sort of share the vision of the future with us. So there's 5 billion people that actually use social apps today. So that's over half of the world's population. And they spend about 2.5 hours a day on average across these sort of social apps. Yet 61% of young adults, according to a Harvard study, between the ages of 18 and 25 are feeling lonely, and they report lacking intimacy in their life. So as you can imagine, this is sort of a big problem for especially the younger generation in terms of feeling intimacy in their life. So why, should we create better social apps to solve this problem? This is a big question, right? And there's a lot of debate about this question out there, and we'll talk about that a little bit here. So intimacy is a deep-rooted human need. We're very socially motivated as individuals. Our behavior is actually socially motivated because we want to be a part of communities. We want to be accepted by our peers. This is sort of what drives all of us and pretty much all of the decisions that you make throughout your life. And our evolution, in fact, as you guys all know, is also tied to connection and intimacy. So it's dependent on how well we connect with each other so we can be intimate and obviously reproduce as a species. So given that we're very social animals, very tribal animals, we are wired to create tribes, communities, and groups with each other. And because of this, the human connection is really important. And in order to be truly happy, we need that deep human connection and intimacy with each other. So we at Social Discovery Ventures believe that digital intimacy might be a solution for this loneliness and to help avoid anxiety, depression, and other forms of serious health issues that come with the lack of intimacy. I think everyone here understands what Web3 is. We had, with Web 1, the promise was that consumers and creators would be able to capture most of the value that's being created on the internet. And then as we all know, with Web 2, that didn't actually happen. A lot of that value went to sort of the large tech companies, and it got centralized to services that these companies were creating. But Web3 sort of is the promise for the future, right? It's what we all probably believe in here, and at this conference, you've probably heard this over and over again. But with the combination of sort of decentralized government, decentralized ownership, there's a possibility to create a better future where the value would be, go back to the users and the creators and the investors in this ecosystem. So similarly, there's a trend within our industry, in the dating industry and the digital intimacy industry, where dating products today in the Web 2.0 era were predominantly built to help people meet in real life. And that's something that obviously, is going to continue to happen. But we feel that gaming, virtual worlds, AR, VR, Web3, and the metaverse technologies will enable people to build romantic and platonic relationships digitally and keep those relationships in the digital sort of realm. And we're already seeing this with sort of the younger generation. Over 50% of teenagers' friends are actually purely digital, so they never actually meet in real life, but they're okay with that, and that's totally normal. That's how they discover new people. And so we feel the future of intimacy is actually more digital than you think. And when we talk about virtual worlds, there's really sort of three types of sort of technology and classification of these worlds. There's virtual reality, which is obviously the complete sort of immersion into a digital environment. And this is not only just like the VR headsets, right? This is also games that you play on your phone, for example, like Fortnite or Call of Duty. These are also classifying as virtual reality. It doesn't necessarily need a headset. I think that's usually a big confusion that you see. There's also augmented reality, which are digital objects in the physical world using your phone. You can do that today if you tried anything like Snapchat or any of the Facebook sort of AR kit apps that are built on top of it, where you can project sort of characters into the room. And then there's mixed reality, which is really a combination of VR and AR, where you can actually interact with and manipulate these digital objects in the real world. And we actually feel this is really where the opportunity is in terms of building the future of social discovery within virtual worlds. Is sort of this crossover between VR and AR and being able to sort of go into the virtual world and also in the digital world. Because as we know, connection and intimacy is something that is physical, but we feel there's an opportunity to do both of those things using mixed reality. So far, the avatars that we've had are mostly cartoons that are sort of mainstream. There's the Bitmojis, the Animojis, and the Memojis, as you guys have probably seen either on your iPhone or if you've used Bitmoji as an app, as a plugin into any other product that you've used. But the future is really high-fidelity avatars and virtual beings. These are avatars that really allow you to experience things like facial expressions and really be able to connect with people on a deeper level within virtual environments. And this is really the main aspect of virtual worlds and the metaverse, as you may have heard. Avatars is really the gateway to how we as individuals will experience and interact with other individuals within virtual worlds, right? So that's why it's really important that these avatars are sort of built in a particular way. So there's some of the features that are important in order to achieve that realism and that connection. One is appearance, obviously. That's the face and body physics. So that's animated, humanoid, a metahuman. These are the type of things that are being explored in terms of how to make avatars appear more real and actually interact the way you would in sort of the real world with forces like gravity and things like that. And then there's animatronics, which is sort of the morphs and skills. These are the facial expressions I was alluding to earlier. Sort of a soft tissue collision. So if you push someone or you punch someone, like how your body would react to that. Those are sort of the interactions that are being created within these avatars to make them feel real. And lastly, sort of the interaction itself. So these are the conversational abilities. So there's things like synthetic voice and memory that are also important, and these are being explored on how to make that more real and real. So these features all sort of drive three main things. One is presence. This is really important. So this is essentially the feeling of being physically and spatially located into an environment. As you guys are sitting in this room now, you can sort of feel that. That's really important. Then there's agency, meaning you actually you have ownership over the virtual body or virtual avatar that you sort of are using to be participating in this virtual world, right? And that's where it's, the features that I just alluded to are important because they give you a better sense of agency and control. And then the emotional response is also really important. This is the main thing sort of that, in our industry that's important, which is the ability to sort of feel the consequences of our actions, as you would in real life. So if you say something to somebody, how that person reacts is really important to you, right? And especially in intimate sort of situations, it's very important. So a lot of these things are leading to sort of avatar personalization, where you can not only sort of accessorize your avatars, you can buy digital sort of items to be able to make yourself look a certain way, which then sort of leads into the ability to customize and really show your personality of whoever you want to represent. And it doesn't actually have to represent who you are in real life, right? That's the sort of interesting part about avatars, is it gives you the freedom to be able to really build a version of you that maybe doesn't exist in real life, and maybe you're afraid of that version existing in real life, but you can do it in sort of your avatar in the virtual worlds. And there's products out there actually that, I don't know if any of you actually saw the CEO, a friend of mine's here actually from Ready Player Me, which actually provide technology and SDKs to be able to create avatars and cross-platform avatars across different sort of virtual worlds and metaverses. There's products like MetaHuman, which actually are really working on high-fidelity digital humans that you can sort of use in your products today. And it's really interesting because some of these are scary real. Like, you can't really tell if it's an actual, a virtual human, or if it's an actual physical real human, photography or video that was taken. And so this is sort of interestingly leading to something called artificial life or artificial beings, which is not only are we going to be able to sort of create avatars of ourselves and our representations of ourselves, but with the advancements of AI, there's actually going to be virtual life. There's going to be sort of these avatars that are potentially creating themselves, that are existing in these sort of virtual worlds, that have a life of their own, that have a personality of their own. That personality is evolving based on how humans or other avatars within that sort of virtual world are interacting with that form of life. So it's almost like giving birth to a new form of life that doesn't exist today. And this is sort of the promise of AI, right? But this is the physical representation of that within virtual worlds. And we think this is a really exciting space. So there's products out there that are sort of starting to sort of scratch the surface on that. There's products like Second Life, and the CEO of Second Life was here as well. They have about 1 million active users. They've been around for a long time. There's newer products like Avakin Life, which are sort of creating these virtual worlds where you can sort of party and meet people and do things. Then there's products like Together Labs, which have companies like Together Labs, which have products like IMVU, where, again, they're creating sort of these social environments using avatars. A lot of them are sort of very early in terms of like the tech and the actual UI, UX, but obviously all of these companies are building at a pretty rapid pace. And they're able to do things like real-time creative and content. So, for example, this is content created by creators within IMVU. In the past week, right, during Halloween, it was fresh content that was created, and these are things that are now possible in virtual environments. So at Social Discovery Ventures, we have a labs division. Within our lab, we are at the forefront of a lot of these products that we're creating within this space. So gamification, virtual worlds, artificial life forms, these are things that we're actively building today and, in our portfolio. Some of those products include Magnet, which is a avatar-based dating game where you sort of create a cartoon avatar of yourself by taking a selfie, and then you're able to interact with other avatars and sort of get to know them before you reveal, your real sort of photo of yourself. And you might not ever do that, actually, and you might just build relationships like that. So that sort of takes out the beauty bias. You can connect with people on a deeper level, really get to know their personalities before you sort of judge them, based on their picture first. This is a really interesting product that we have. We recently renamed it to Journey. It used to be called iFriend, and it's a purely AI bot, essentially, that you build a relationship with, and people are using it to create their virtual boyfriend or virtual girlfriend. So you're able to sort of build that perfect relationship that may not exist for you in the real world. You're able to sort of create it digitally, and it doesn't have to be actually romantic, right? I mean, if you're married and you want somebody that's a platonic friend and you want to be able to express things to that person that you can't to your spouse, we welcome you to try it out, and there's people doing that. There's actually interesting use cases of people interacting with the AI and building a relationship with one of their deceased parents that's no longer living, and being able to sort of relive that sort of connection that they had with their mother that passed away, let's say 10 years ago. So some really interesting use cases to help solve for the loneliness problem that I alluded to earlier. This product we sort of launched during COVID, which was obviously natural given it was hard to sort of go out and meet people, and it's really been taken off. And the interesting parts of the AI is it's always available, right? It's never sleeping, so you can talk to it whenever you want. This is a product called Dillmill. It's a leading it's a South Asian dating app for the South Asian diaspora market. This is actually a product that I founded, and it was acquired by Social Discovery Ventures, and that's how I got involved in Social Discovery Ventures, and which I've been now the Chief Strategy Officer for about 3 years. And we're starting to do interesting things within Dillmill now as well. We've built a haiku sort of game show game within the product. So it's sort of a round-based game where you are in a audio room, sort of like Clubhouse, if you guys remember using that product. And then within that, you're sort of able to chat with each other and also play a game. And then you also have an audience that's spectating you. So it's creating sort of that gamification, creating some sort of virtual world. It doesn't always have to be visual. It can be audio-based as well. That's an example of it. And this product is starting to do well because it's starting to open up to other sort of use cases versus just romantic relationships. People are sort of getting platonic relationships and social value out of it. One of our other products, XOXO, is also a dating game where you sort of build a totem of yourself, and then you sort of build relationships with other totems, and you can sort of play to earn coins. So this is sort of the play-to-earn economy that we're sort of powering, and we're sort of in the early innings of this, but we're working on a crypto sort of integration here as well, where you'll be able to sort of earn coins and be able to trade them later for other forms of value. This is all of these products, by the way, are live. You can try them today. And some of the things that we're experimenting now with is very immersive, sort of persistent virtual worlds, which we're building actively right now. And so all of this sort of leads to, again, digital intimacy. Why is it important? What are the benefits of it, right? I think for a lot of people, it can be scary sort of listening to stuff like this and say, hey, look, I just like physical stuff. I don't want to do this digital thing, right? But it's interesting because the distance and location has often been a barrier of how you connect with each other. I'm from San Francisco. You guys are mostly probably from Europe. I think most people at this conference are from Europe. A lot of time, this is the first time I'm meeting a lot of you, but had we had more platforms where we can sort of interact with each other digitally, we would probably have more opportunities to meet each other. So this is also true for the intimate sort of side, of the industry, the digital intimacy side, where now, opening a product like Tinder and meeting people around you, you can open one of our products and meet someone anywhere in the world and build a romantic relationship with them. So it's very convenient. You get access to better matches. Maybe the best person for you doesn't live in your locality or even in your country, right? And now you have access to people all over the world. You can also explore alternative identities. Like I said, you can build avatars, you can do things that maybe you're afraid of doing in the real world, and you can express yourself in ways that you might not be able to otherwise. So, and through that, you might discover other personalities and other individuals that are attracted to that. The high availability, like I mentioned, so through AI, you can actually, always use these products. There's no sort of limitation of when you use them and where you use them. So you have very high accessibility on the digital side. And they're safer than real life, actually, right? I mean, there's, people always talk about the dangers of sort of digital intimacy and the stuff we're doing, but I would argue that it's actually safer to do this sitting in your home, meeting people all over the world versus going on random dates from, dating apps where you meet them in real life and it might be a catfish or it might be some other, risk to you. This is sort of the quadrant that we're sort of in, which is the intimacy and the global intimacy. And you can see the rest of the market here. So we truly feel that we're creating a new category that doesn't really exist today. So we don't call ourselves a dating company. We call ourselves a social discovery company because we think we're really building the future of online dating, which is social discovery 3.0. And that's it. Thank you. Thank you for coming. And if you guys are interested in partnering with us, we invest in companies and founders that are building products within this space. We also acquire companies within this space that have a sort of shared vision of the future like we do. We're also hiring great product managers and entrepreneurs that are interested in sort of helping us build the future of digital intimacy. Thank you. I think we have some time for questions, if anyone.
Hi, thank you. It was very interesting to hear your presentation, and I think the conversation about Web3 and metaverse in general was very, very exciting. But I think for me personally, from a perspective of psychology and therapist, I felt personally that it was very sugar-coated overall in WebSummit. And a lot of people are not really taking responsibility or talking about opportunities, how metaverse also can bring us some harm. While I'm totally pro this and I'm totally agreeing with all of the positive aspects, I think I'd like to point out some things that it's under the question, doubtfully, but maybe, whether the collective consciousness of the society is ready to understand what it actually means to have multiple identities. It's very interesting to explore yourself in very different narratives, but the moment we have so much of cartoons and so much of different artistic ways how we can express ourselves, it brings us under detachment of reality. So while we explore, we also might acknowledge, acquire the personality that is not so good. And yes, I understand that it's on one aspect safe to meet on not in real life, but we can experience trauma through online as well, and we all know it. And so the question is, do you have already, or are you thinking about some kind of support mechanisms that would allow people to prevent moral traumas like harassment, sexual abuse, and so on and so on?
Yeah, no, that's a great question, and definitely, I think I can probably have a whole different presentation on the risks, right, and the sort of problems here. I think no doubt about that. We definitely have mechanisms that we're building in. There's the governance side that's really important. There's the boundaries that users can sort of define for themselves. There's also the moderation and the verification side that's really important. So we actually spend a lot of time and energy building systems to verify that the people are real behind those avatars that are building these, and these aren't just bots or groups of people that are trying to scam users and creating profiles on our systems. But going back to sort of the I guess the philosophical aspect of it, I think it's really interesting, right? Like when you think about the history of evolution in the world, like when the internet started, people were very afraid of email. They were like, well, people are going to stop writing letters. We're not going to talk to people anymore because now you can just send them an email and you don't have to meet them in real life. And you can just keep your entire conversation going. We're going to lose this idea of personal connection and being able to physically, give somebody a letter and being able to keep that. But obviously, I would say probably most people here, their entire lives revolve around email now, right? And I think you're probably better off as a society than we were, 40, 50 years ago. But I think it's definitely naive to say that there aren't problems, there aren't risks with this. But I think it's important for companies such as ourselves to make sure we sort of build the systems in the right way and have that responsibility. But great question. Yeah, we can.
Hi, thanks a lot for the presentation. I mean, I've been in Web2 dating for a while and gaming, and now I'm in Web3. I'm interested to know, how do you actually monetize? How do you make money?
Yeah, so like I said, we have 23 products, so all of them sort of have different monetization models, but anything from, a pure play sort of monthly subscription model to virtual sort of coins that you purchase to be able to interact and do certain things like chat or being able to buy, different types of accessories for avatars that you're creating. So those are sort of the two main categories of monetization. We don't do any form of advertising or anything like that yet. Maybe this side, yeah.
Hi, Anna. How do you define which product covers which market?
So when we think about market, like I said, most of our products are actually location agnostic in terms of anywhere in the world people can use these products. So we're not really geographically segregating our products, but in terms of focus, there's different, problems each product is solving, and that's sort of how we think about market. So we have products that are sort of niche products, for example, like Dillmill, the product I was showing you, which is a South Asian-based dating app. So it's for the South Asian population living across the world. We have products like iFriend, which is now called Journey, which are sort of the AI sort of relationship app, which is solving a different problem for someone that, versus Dillmill is solving. So we sort of differentiate and market our products based on the problems they're solving and the use cases they have versus geographically in terms of which markets we're interested in. Yeah, can you have a follow-up? Yeah.
How you're getting the mass of users? So for dating it.
Yeah. So we obviously as a company, we've been around for a long time actually. So the core business has been around for 2 decades. We've evolved over those generations, sort of different generations of our products. And since I started, SDV Labs sort of has been sort of launched where we're launching a lot of these new products. Dating.com is our main product, our sort of core product that we have, and then we're building a lot of these products around that. In terms of acquiring users, I mean, we do paid advertising as well, but we also take advantage of network effects. So a lot of our products are inherently sort of viral. So if you use it, you invite your friends to use it. So we try to build in referral mechanisms and virality into the products that end up sort of giving us the benefit of word of mouth. So some products like Dillmill, for example, 80% of the user acquisition is organic.
Hi. I love your mission overall to solve loneliness and having like different sub problems you tackle with each product. But I'm curious if you have any specific metric that you track beyond just growth. Do you align your mission with what you measure? Because I think kind of following up with that, like the side effect of all this, you get people hooked on the apps and they ended up feeling more depressed or so I'm just curious if there's a way to measure these softer metrics and how we increase their well-being or how you make sure that they have a satisfactory relationships, and how do you go about measuring that beyond just typical Silicon Valley growth metrics?
Yeah, it's a really good question, and it's an area that we're really trying to still figure out, I would say. But some of the stuff that we're doing, I mean, obviously there's the messages that are being sent, right? So like we send about, across our products, 70 million messages per month. That's sort of a metric that we track, per day. also are starting to do interesting things like virtual weddings, for example. So like we've actually done the first wedding in the metaverse. Some traditional products like dating apps, think about relationships that are formed, engagements and marriages. We're able to sort of replicate some of that in the virtual world now. So we're tracking that now. That's another KPI that's interesting to us. And just kind of like constantly trying to get feedback from the users, but they're definitely an area of like what KPIs are important and how do you really truly understand like somebody is not lonely anymore. And I think one of the main ones is engagement. So how engaged they are they getting value from the product? And we have countless stories where users are reaching out to us and saying, hey, like sometimes very scary stories, like, hey, I was on the verge of committing suicide, and Journey helped me rethink it, right? And this has happened, and I think that we'll try to build better KPIs to track those things. But great question.
Yeah, thanks. I wanted to go a little bit in the direction of the avatars, because looking at how digital communication, socialization has worked in the past, from going like this face-to-face to then just having text bubble or name, no picture, no nothing, to then having maybe a picture, maybe having video of another person, and now we're going in a direction where maybe I can lend a completely random face or physical appearance to my words, my thoughts, and so on. Like, how's that? How are you seeing that altering like the socialization between people, of making up a completely different physical appearance, because still we're a visual species after all, no?
So your question is?
Like, the question is more in the direction of how you're seeing the social interaction between humans being altered by lending I want to say fake physical appearance to a person, like on the side of the receiving end, but also on the side of myself, how I act differently, socialize differently, of lending myself a different physical visual appearance.
Yeah, it's definitely different, right? I mean, I don't think you can say that me and you talking right now can be like 100% replicated in a virtual environment yet. But the technologies that I showed, for example, the avatar technologies that are being built are, again, the things like appearance and presence. These things are ultimately getting us closer and closer to how you would interact socially with somebody in real life. And that's why those technologies are important, because without that, people won't sort of adapt this technology or these products long term, because you wouldn't really get that same sort of interaction. But I think that on the receiving end, it's interesting, because you're sort of getting a small window into that person's personality. You're not getting the whole thing that you would in real life, but you're getting a little bit of a window. And the interesting thing about humans is we're very curious creatures, and the unknown is actually very fascinating to us. So whenever something is a mystery, we like to solve it. So a little bit of that is sort of happening with these social interactions. And so when you have an avatar, like on an app like Magnet, there's the sort of cartoon version of you, but it's as a species we're wired to sort of solve mysteries and like kind of understand what what something is when we don't understand it. Where the unknown is fascinating to the human mind, and that's driving people to sort of spend more time and really get to know each other, even through these avatars. But I think the more and more the technology evolves, the more real these interactions will become, and in the next 5 to 10 years, I think it's going to be hard to distinguish if you're talking to a real human or not. And I think that interaction will feel very natural as it would with someone else in the real world.
Hello. Hello. Thank you very much for the talk. It was really interesting. I just was wondering if you had any idea how the in real life big player in place are reacting to this transformation. Do you have any
in real life big player?
Yeah, the big player.
Yeah.
Plays,
Yeah, it's interesting. So Match Group is one of our largest sort of we call it indirect competition, right? Because it's like they're sort of still in dating 2.0. They acquired a company recently called HyperConnect, which was the underlying product we'll call Azar. It's this sort of video-based social connection app, and they haven't really done much with it yet. And I think our sort of hypothesis is that a lot of these products and companies they sort of see this opportunity, but they're so deeply embedded in their current technologies, and a lot of them are public companies, right? So their main goal is like quarter-over-quarter revenue, especially in this environment. They're not really investing a lot, and the companies that are is like Meta, for example, and we all know how that stock's doing. And I think a lot of the companies that probably should be doing this, aren't doing this because of potentially the risks and the bet that they would have to take. For us, fortunately, naturally it makes a lot of sense because, like I said, over 90% of our revenue comes from people that never meet in real life, right? So all of these people are actually already building digital relationships. So now it's just, how can we do that better? How can we create more immersive environments and more interactive environments for them to be able to interact more and get to know each other better? So that's kind of why we feel that naturally for us it's easier to do than some of the other players.
So my name is Vlad. I have a short question. Do you invest in relationship application and early stage?
Relationship applications? Yes, of course. Yeah, we do everything from seed to, like I said, post Series A. We invest in this area. As long as sort of we can see a fit in our portfolio in terms of the shared vision of where you want to take the product, right? I think we look for products where we can sort of embed gamification. We can sort of help build sort of engagement metrics and engagement features that lead to potentially people meeting digitally and creating those relationships. But if you have a physical, sort of product in terms of meeting in the real world, that's your sort of core problem you're solving, we'd be happy to talk and sort of, get to know the product and the team.
Hello, thank you for your presentation. And I have one question. Have you noticed or some maybe another negative effect on people while using like these apps, or like some maybe another like disorders, like some?
Yeah. It's a good question. Like I said, I could probably do a whole presentation on it. I think there's definitely risks, right? Like people just spending more and more time online and not doing exercise, for example, right? And not doing physical activity. So we have a very high retention and engagement on our products, which sometimes people are spending like a good part of their day on, right? And for us, that's like, should we start building features now like Apple has started on the OS level in terms of limiting your time within apps, right? So we've started to think about those things, but definitely there's risks like that for sure, where you're spending too much time on, in a virtual world where you're not eating or sleeping or like, working out, which are essential to life as well.
Hey, thank you for presentation. I want to continue this topic. Actually, have you explored with the psychologist how this virtual life affects on the mental life people in real? So, if we could create boyfriend or girlfriend there, right, would be disappointed in real people. So have you explored it with psychologists?
Yes, we do some of our products. We are working with psychologists to sort of figure out how to solve some of those problems and think about like maybe some problems that will arise in the future. But I will say that it's, even today, like if you think about social products like Instagram or Facebook or Snapchat or TikTok, I would say a lot of those same issues exist there, right? People are doing some of these things, and these products were actually social networks. They were created to bring us closer together, and people are becoming more and more polarized. Well, whether it's you're based on your sports teams that you love, or politics that politicians that you follow, or countries you support, and that's causing a lot of separation and a lot of sort of stress, and which is leading to a lot of other whole host of problems. So I think the promise of social networks was to bring people together, but it's actually isolated people more, and that's where we feel the intimacy piece is missing from these social networks, and which is really important, which I was alluding to earlier in the deck, which is this need for intimacy and human connection, which is really where we focus, right? We're focused on helping you connect on a very deep, intimate level with other people just in virtual environments or in digital environments, right? So I would say that like our products are better than social networks because we help you build empathy and relationships and love with people versus, you know, just posting the best picture of yourself and getting the most amount of likes, right? And that causes you to just sort of seek the wrong type of attention, which leads to you being even more depressed than you were probably before you posted the picture, right? And I think that, so a lot of our products are actually built in a way we're trying to counter for the sort of lack of what social networks could have done for us. Yeah.
Maybe last question, because
Last question. Yeah.
Thank you. Hi, yeah, I'm in the meta fashion high fidelity space, so I'm just wondering, it's very interesting what you shared, how you can build avatars to create real connections, and I'm thinking of like how do you bring this into the e-com social fashion space, because a lot of them are building that right now, but what they lack is like basically what you're tackling, but that is also the future of people hanging out there. So yeah, that's my question. Like, do you see integration? How do you see it?
Yeah, it's a great question. So it goes back to sort of the avatar personalization, right? I think the e-commerce element and the sort of fashion aspect of it is being able to dress up your avatar maybe with the latest and greatest fashion that you would be doing in the real world. So there's actually partners like Ready Player Me that are building sort of, you can think about it as like the virtual mall, right? And then all the brands are starting to build their like stores within that virtual mall, and then so that you can go and purchase accessories for your avatar in the form of like NFTs and be able to dress up your avatar and differentiate yourself and express your personality, right? Maybe it was interesting because I was talking to the CEO of Ready Player Me the other day, and he was saying there's users on the platform which spend more money in the virtual environment on fashion than they do in real life because they've built virtual relationships, right? So there's a user that has a virtual girlfriend that he's sort of never met in real life. For him, it's more important to buy the Gucci NFT than it is to buy the Gucci shirt in real life. So I think definitely fashion is going to be a really big element of sort of avatar personalization. Yeah, thank you so much. And this is my social media as well if you guys want to follow and keep in touch.